Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and I want to thank you for being here, whether you're live in our audience, whether you're watching us on the Conscious Awakening Network, which has Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, soon to be on Amazon, or not Amazon, but Android TV. You may be on YouTube, and we thank you so much. Our numbers have pretty much quadrupled in the last 6 months, and we're almost at 4,500 viewers. So thank you guys so much for watching us. Thanks for all of our Facebook people and everyone, whether you're live or on replay. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to introduce my beautiful co-host. Here we go, my dear. First, I'm going to make you co-host, but during the month of May, we are celebrating art from a spiritual perspective, from a shamanic perspective. And when I started thinking about having a co-host, of course I have to have April, because she is all of these things wrapped up into one. So April, thank you for being my co-host this month. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, for the privilege. I'm really happy to be here, really.
Thank you. So April's going to introduce our special guest tonight, Catherine. But before she does, I just want to say Catherine is a long-term friend of mine. I dearly love her. Had to have her on to share her phenomenal work with you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and let April give the official introduction.
Thank you. Okay, so Catherine Skaggs is going to dive into visionary imagery, energy, story, and the symbolism of the divine. And we'll explore the power and messages of the goddess, star beings, celestial ones, animal spirits, ancestors, and other guides and helpers. We're going to learn more about using sacred art and the intention to open portals and doorways to other worlds, higher frequencies, and vibrational language of the soul. We will be entertained, enlightened, and illuminated in the alchemy of sacred art. Catherine is inspired to bring beauty, love, soul, healing, and a vision of inspiration to others through visionary art, empowering classes and workshops, including intuitive painting classes, artist, shaman, healing, sage courses, journeying with the goddess workshops, monthly new moon goddess wisdom circles, and full moon shamanic healer circles. In addition, Catherine offers intuitive guidance and healing services, including soul portraits, a process unique to Catherine and her intuitive guidance, intuitive reading and soul guidance sessions, shamanic healing sessions, spiritual coaching. Life experiences tell her that every breath is sacred, to live fully, to choose love in every moment, to aim for happiness and joy, no matter what, and to see the divine within all beings. Wow. Catherine, would you like me to talk about you as a teacher too?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. So, teacher, Catherine, there's nothing more grand to Catherine to share her experiences of divine with others and to inspire them to create their own experiences that lead them to truth and love. Catherine is an inspirational teacher of intuitive painting, as well as shamanism and mystery school teaching, including dream interpretations, the chakras, meditation, visualization, and expanding one's intuition, just to name a few. Catherine focuses on how we are the artists of our own lives and that we can learn to more massively paint that canvas of life when we're willing to take the responsibility for ourselves in the union with spirit. Catherine is known for her unique and empowering teaching style, bringing art, creativity, guided imagery, and intuition into the classroom, creating a dynamic chemistry for personal empowerment and transformation. She inspires others to paint the canvas of their lives in an authentic, colorful expression of courageous original strokes. So Catherine's been studying and practicing energy healing for more than 20 years. The mind-body-spirit relationship has been Catherine's attention for many years. She recognized that this is a vast frontier of exploration for miracles and manifestation. Today, Catherine walks the metaphysical and shamanic path, healing herself and for working with others. As a shamanic practitioner and metaphysician, Catherine works with intention, spirit, allies, and nature to assist in healing, as well as breath, sound, and shamanic techniques and practices. Catherine is part of an advanced shamanic study to deepen her abilities to heal patterns of dis-ease and suffering to patterns of love and harmony. Catherine's own personal healing journey deepens her compassion and ability to see patterns that interfere with wellness. Catherine knows it is important to recognize that she does not heal anyone, but that she can only create a container and a space for healing and empowerment for others. The true healer is spirit and lives within each of us. If one wants to emerge well, one must accept that healing occurs from the inside out. The miracle is when one becomes receptive to the miraculous of spirit, shifting the illusion of illness into the reality of well-being. Wow. Wow. So, do you want to give us a rundown on your shamanism? I say that word wrong, I'm sorry. Or
It's okay. I say shamanism, but some people say shamanic, but I say shamanic.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, April.
Thank you. So where do you want me to begin, y'all? You want me to start it? You know, that was quite a bio. Where did that come from? I guess I must have written some of that. That's part of the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. April's a wonderful researcher, so she pulled everything together for you tonight. She did a wonderful job. I really appreciate that, April. So I know you have a slideshow that you want to start or a PowerPoint. So if you want to, share screen is enabled.
Okay, let me grab that. All right, let me get this started for y'all so that you can, how about that? All right, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, April. And thank you everyone who showed up and whoever will see this at any point in time you choose to click in here. I have been on an amazing journey, as all of our lives. I want to honor every one of our journeys as sacred and amazing. Sometimes ordinary reality doesn't seem like it, but through creativity, art, and my own journey to heal and connect to the divine, I've learned along the way and continue to experience that there's so much going on and that we are truly the artists of our lives. You know, and I grew up as an artist. I grew up knowing I was drawing and painting, you know, from being a little child on up to teenager, and just wanted to create with a lot of color. And I began, as many of us do, learning by replicating, which is kind of an interesting thing. Just think about it. When you're a kid, what do you replicate? Either as an artist, or how your parents acted, or how your teachers acted, or how our culture acts. We pick that up. And yet innately to all of us, I have found that we are creators, and we can learn to create in harmony, or we can learn to create through fear. But I find that harmony is like a better way to go, if at all possible, and that there's many secrets revealed to us through our creativity. So let's dive in tonight. I want to honor the painting that is the beginning image that I actually am pretty well known for at this point in time, that came through some of my shamanic journeys. So to reiterate, you know, I've been doing art for a long time. I've jumped into mysticism and metaphysics in my 20s. And I need to update my bio with you, April, because I actually been diving into this work for nearly 40 years now, which kind of tells you how old I am. And It's been absolutely divine in so many ways when I get to journey with art, creativity, and seeing this, the language of the soul that comes through art, that comes through form, that comes through sound, that comes to us in so many ways. And this particular image came through my exploration in shamanism when I was in the jungles of Peru. And I will speak to it when we get further into some of the imagery in the story that I have to share with you tonight. But this is actually a vision that came as I sat with plant medicines to do what the shamans do, to learn through connecting through the plant's consciousness. And you'll find as I talk about art and healing and how you can embody this, you may never travel to the jungle or work with shamans, but within each one of us, we can go out in nature and connect to the consciousness of plants any day long. In shamanic cultures, you'll find that they are all artisans. We are all artisans, and yet tribal shamanic cultures continue to remember that right brain aspect, that connectivity and inspiration of the song of the soul. And the song of the soul is not only sound, but it's form, it's color, it's pattern, it's art, and it's constantly flowing in our reality. It's a matter of becoming still and connecting to it. So this inspiration that came was actually a diet with plants and the sacred plant of tobacco of all plants. And it's messages and imagery that came to me when I spent a week in the jungle, sitting in ceremony with these plants and asking them to bring healing and awareness to me. So we're going to explore more of that tonight. This is a little older picture of me in the jungle, coming out of the jungle, just to give you a reference of many journeys with these plant people and these mystics, shamans, and what they have to reveal. I'm not going to go too much deeper in that. We covered a heck of a lot of that already. I also want to say thank you to all those who've walked before us, the creators, the artisans, the ones who inspire. Upon our path, I have learned along the way that we get all these little signs, symbols, and nudges. And back in the 90s, when I was fresh out of a metaphysical school and teaching, I created a metaphysical store here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I came by way of the art of Susan Seaton-Boulay and Alex Gray, whose images are down at the bottom. And I remember also meeting a woman when I moved here who was she was an aura portrait artist. And I thought, wow, that speaks to me. That makes me feel like I'm supposed to do something like that. And those are the nudges I speak to when you see people who are creating in the world, who you feel connected to, like there's something there for you. And that's what the art of Alex Gray and Susan Seaton-Boulay and this other woman in town inspired me. I also want to honor an artist. I didn't put her art here. It's Meinrad Craighead, she's a mystic artist, a shamanic artist who was a mentor and a dear friend of mine, who I met her many years after I saw her art in the 90s. So that pay attention when you get these nudges, because when I was in this look, I'm running a metaphysical store. I have psychics working for me. I've got sacred art around me. I've got crystals around me, but I've always been an artist. I'm like, when I got that nudge to say, what am I supposed to do? How do I bring my art and spiritual path together? My guides had been working on me to help me fulfill something inside of me that I wanted to experience in this life and to be part of. And this painting on the right, Guardians, the big one on the image here, is from one of the very, very first visionary art paintings I did, inspired by these artists that I'd seen their work. And lo and behold, it's kind of interesting. It's more shamanic, even though I hadn't actually started upon my official shamanic path with my teachers in physical form. And I saw owl medicine in my image, and this eagle-headed being, and this child image. And then there's a wolf right at the center. And that was my exploration of like, how does this come through me? And I realized many years later that the eagle-headed being is like my Native American form of Archangel Michael, who's one of my main guides. And I'm a warrior energy of many ways. And that's Michael was coming to me to teach me and show me to fly like the eagle above the minutiae of earth life into the spirit world and to see more clearly. And the wolf came as one of my main guides that I didn't know I had wolf totem back then. I had no clue in my conscious mind, but it was coming through the art and the inspiration. And wolf is about tribe. Wolf is about loyalty. I'm a dog person too. And I don't mean just I have dogs, but dog is one of my energies, my alchemies. And it's about belonging and tribe. And that's like at the heart of this painting. And it's at the heart of myself to gather tribe and to understand what it's like to be loyal and to truly express that and experience that and to inspire that. And then of all the other creatures, owl came in at the time. Owl is one of my main totems, one of my main guides and helpers. And I had no clue consciously, but it flew into my imagery. And I understand now that owl is such an important being to work with and to bring in. So this is, you know, when you're attracted to art and imagery, look at who shows up and what you're attracted to, because I find that it's part of your subconscious, your higher self, your inner world that's coming to light to help you understand that you're in the dream of life. And there's always helpers, symbols. And this has come through sacred art for eons, not just Catherine Skaggs' art or some of these other artisans, but that what you're attracted to is truly here to give you a message. You know, and I have to come back to that painting here of Guardians, is that the child here is that inner child in myself. It's precious consciousness, it's innocence. And it was something that I needed to know at the time to see that I belonged. It was part of my own personal healing journey. And that the main message that came through with this imagery was that I'm never alone, that I'm always guided and protected. And that's if you're attracted to this particular painting and art, you can trust that is part of the message for you tonight. Whatever else you hear in my words or see in the images, that there's something being activated and awakened for you. That's part of my journey with this art. And what I connect to is that we have constant signs, symbols, imagery, and messages to connect us to the extraordinary or divine reality beyond the limited, finite reality of being on Earth. So I want to talk about the journey into sacred art. I'd been painting all of my, doing art most of my life. And I went through a period of time where I didn't paint for about 5 years. I'd had my metaphysical store and I got sick and I closed it. And at that same time, I quit painting for a bit of time until I actually went back and worked in a corporate reality. I was thinking, what the heck am I doing here? That doesn't make any sense. I got back on my feet. I got my health back. And I had the opportunity to open a second store with a friend of mine. And so I took it because I'm like, I got to go back to what's really right for me. And when I want to honor another wonderful mystic artist of Sheila Sophia. If you don't know her, I'd look her up. She's on the West Coast in California, and she's an amazing goddess artist and teacher of transformative art. She has created a movement that's similar to some of the work I do, but she's trademarked it and gone all over the world teaching teachers. And she has something called intentional creativity. Anyway, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet her when I helped open a second metaphysical store in the early 2000s. And she was good friends with my partner in that store. And so she came for our opening and she came to my house and she saw some of my old art. And this is what I wasn't painting. And she said, "Are you painting?" So another synchronicity of knowing something came into my life. Someone came into my life to help me reconnect with really part of my own essence. I said, no, I'm not right now. I haven't been able to the last 5 years, even though I'd have a studio wherever I'd go. So she said, I came for you, Catherine. And I thought, wow, who knew, right? So she took me into a short meditation and then into my studio that I had set up, even though I wasn't working in it. We got the biggest canvas out that was there. And she got these new paints out I had never worked with. Their golden fluid acrylics. And she put them out on a palette. And then she put a brush into the paints and she handed it to me and she said, paint. And so I just started painting. And she said, wow, you're really confident. I said, I've been painting my whole life. I just haven't painted for 5 years. And so the cool thing was that everything started to flood forth. And the goddess, the divine feminine, started to flood through me. And Textures of Mary, this painting here, was not the first of the paintings that came through, but she came through in the weeks to follow. And through a very mystical experience, in that I was working every day at the store till late, but every day I could feel Mary around me. I could sense her. I knew that she was sending me this image to paint, but every night for 3 days, I'd go home and fall in bed. So on the third night, I was thinking, well, I ought to go paint. I'm like, well, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. So in the middle of the night, Mary wakes me up and she's transmitting through me. She's transmitting, so it's telepathic. It's like packets of vision, information, and consciousness. And she's like, get up and go to the studio. I'm like, oh, okay. I can't ignore her. So I'm like, I got it. So I went into the studio, and in the middle of the night, she transmitted the love and the frequencies, the consciousness, and the imagery of this painting. And this is where I really want to say that I may cry. If I do, it's because of such great love and joy, is that she let me know in the most profound ways, experientially, not just intellectually, but through every part of my consciousness and my soul, that the importance of sacred imagery, sacred art, because it transmits frequency, it transmits the sacred art of the soul, the symbol, the color, the frequency, the imagery that connects to us beyond our conscious mind into our essence, to help us connect to love, to help us connect to unity and harmony, and to what's truly important beyond our human disconnectedness at times, or the places where we struggle with duality. And so let me know that she was the one watching over my journey here as one to bring in through sacred art, and that she was guiding and watching over all of this experience, and that it was time to let it come through. And so I painted 90% of this painting in the middle of the night. And the next day I went to work, and the weird thing, or the interesting thing, is that for the many years that I've owned a metaphysical store and had the perfect venue to hang my own art, I never did until this day. And so I took her into the store that next day, and I hung her up, even though she wasn't finished. And my business partner, she looked at it, and I could see her like lusting over the painting, like, can I have that? And I'm like, no, not necessarily. And so I went to the back room and I worked. And in the afternoon, they came and got me and said, there's a lady outside who wants to know if that painting is for sale. And I said, okay, I don't know. And I went and talked to the woman, and she was this metaphysical Catholic woman who channeled Mary through her writings. And she says, I want to know if that painting is for sale. I said, well, I don't know. I only work intuitively. Can I call you tomorrow? I said, and by the way, it's not finished. She says, it doesn't matter. I know that if you'll sell it, it'll be perfect when it is. I'm like, well, okay. So I go home that night and I sit and I ask Mary if I can sell the painting. And she says, yes, if you want to, we are lined up for you to paint us. And I remember thinking, well, I wonder what that means. And I can tell you hundreds of sacred paintings later, I understand now that there have been many who've been waiting for those of us who can channel them into this existence to help them be present for all of us and to help bring the frequencies through into form for everyone to experience and to raise the frequency on this planet to help our hearts open. So anyway, I go on with the conversation with this woman and I said, well, I'll call you tomorrow. I'll let you know what the deal is. So that night, Mary went ahead and told me, I said, well, how much do I tell this lady if I want to sell her? And I maybe had sold a painting for $200 20 years earlier when I was younger in my life, because I hadn't tried to be I didn't know how to be a professional artist to sell things. I had been an artist forever, but I just kind of had my fingers in a lot of other things. So what I heard kind of excited and disturbed me because I heard $4,800 and I about fell off my chair. I thought, oh no, I have to tell that woman that I couldn't find the value in myself. It was like a big number to me at the time. And I thought, oh dear. And so I go to bed that night and call the woman the next day. I'm very glad I could talk to her on the phone. So I tell her all these stories. And when she asked, I said, yes, I can sell her. She asked how much. And I hem-hawed around and I apologized all over myself. And I finally told her. And she said, oh, that's great. I'll take her. I would have paid you more. And I had to come to terms with that in great gratitude and humility, as to understand that there was a deep and bigger exchange than anything I understood, and that it was so much more than what money could buy. It was all about love and getting the energy into sharing, and that it was so much more valuable than anything I had ever accepted of myself in my own journey. So this is one of the first mystical stories that I have to share about this path, because these beings have been speaking to me for a long time. And every time I'd sit down to paint, I started to have more and more experiences around the communications, and they're available for everyone. So let me get on to more of the stories. Let's talk about soul portraits, portraits of the soul. This was another piece that actually was given to me in the 90s, but it kind of scared me. No, it really scared me at the time. This is when I had 9 psychics working for me, and I'm exploring how my art and spirituality come together. And so I put my prayer out to my guides, which all of you can do, of what do you need in your life? What do you need to know? And to learn to be quiet so you can listen and hear the answers, or to recognize the synchronicities when they come. Because I saw Susan Seaton-Boulet's art and Alex Gray's art, and I said, so how does my art and my spirituality come together? This is way before Mary came in. And it took about a year, but one day when I was at the store working, I heard inwardly soul portraits, and it came through as a packet of information. It was like a direct knowing. And it was not just intellectual. I felt it in every part of my body. And when it happened, I say it scared me because it was part of my destiny, and I didn't know if I was ready. And that happens sometimes, when you get really emotional in a positive or a negative way, it could be a real sign that something's unfolding for you. Same thing happened for me when I was nudged by my early metaphysical teachers as time for me to do speaking and teaching. And I thought, I'm just a baby. I can't do that yet. And that greatest fear turned into my greatest love. And the same was true for this. So soul portraits are a channeled painting where I sit with each individual and connect to your essence, and through your intention, and whatever you need for healing or illumination, the symbol, the color, the message, and the energy comes through to support and activate your own illumination. My journey and my experience so far says every one of us is an amazing illuminated being, but when we jump into our earth suits or our human suits, we forget oftentimes. And we get little clues along the way. But what this told me was that this is a soul remembering, sometimes a soul retrieval, sometimes a connection to your multiverse self, to your many faceted soul self who's had many incarnations here and in other planetary systems. And so I really jumped deeper into this after I began painting after married. And I was playing around with the paints. And one day, you'll see in this painting, all these spirals with different colors. That was my exploration with the paints and just listening to my guidance. It's very abstract at first. And then I let it sit and I was just looking at the art and sitting and contemplating. And I remember inwardly getting the guidance, I need to put a face in there. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to destroy what I did. It's like, you have to put a face in there. I'm like, oh, okay. And so very gingerly, I began to put the imagery of the face in and the symbol. And I realized, oh my goodness, this is my soul portrait. And as I began to unfold the process, I could feel Van Gogh and I could feel these famous artists come through. I felt like they were moving my hands and they were helping me connect to parts of myself from sacred temple times, from sacred mystical artist times, to different parts I probably don't have language for, to help me see myself as much as I could see another. And it was like, I can't ignore this any longer. And it began the journey to admitting what was a gift that I had to give to others as well as myself. And I can tell you that since 2004, I think when I did this painting and that journey of saying yes to my own destiny and what I had to give to the world, is that I've literally painted probably 3,000 soul portraits since then. And met people who have not only received from me, but have helped me remember who I am. So I want to say through sacred art, through your sacred gifts, whatever they happen to be, whatever you give the world, is that I found that sitting with others in these processes, whether it be healing processes or doing this soul portraits, is that everyone I sit with is not only me seeing them and helping them remember and see who they are, but that everyone has been an angel and a gift to help me be me. And that's part of the gift we have to give one another. So let's get further into art and spiritual art as the language of the soul. Our subconscious and our inner soul selves communicate, communicate through imagery, sound, vibration, song, and art brings that to our awareness, whether it be a song, whether it be a painting, whether it be a sculpture. When you resonate with something, its color, its form, it could be abstract. It doesn't, I paint a lot of images of faces and beings, but it could be very abstract. It can inspire and activate you. It's part of the message from our souls to help us recognize who we are. And I can tell stories all day, but I know there's a lot to cover here, so let me see what I can do. Color, form, symbol, song, emanate energy, and pattern. Everything, imagine that Om is what many of us, Hinduism in particular, consider is the sound that creates the universe. So your voice, your song creates form. And with some of the Shipibo shamans I've studied with in Peru, they understand that and will teach you that you're born as a song. You're born as a vibration that creates your body, that creates your voice, that creates the patterns of your life. And that if we get frightened or afraid, our songs get distorted and we can go into patterns of distress or disease. So the shamans will sing into you to restore your harmony, to bring you back into balance and back to heart and to center. Well, they know that this creates form, color, light, and experience, So they literally, I don't have an image of this in my presentation tonight, but they actually, as artisans, will create something called song cloths, where they bring in the patterns and the imagery of the plants and of the animals to bring healing to you through these patterns. Well, I'm bringing that into focus here because, creating art, looking at sacred art, those patterns, colors, and forms are singing into you. You think you're just looking at them visually, but this vision of this Buddha here is singing into you right now. It's singing mindfulness. It's singing the middle path. It's singing the harmony of the heart. So if you're attracted to this, you may notice certain colors may have more impact or feeling upon you. So this is the one thing that we can begin to practice and play with is color, form, and imagery to create energy. Children understand this. If you go back to being a child before any teacher said, oh, you're good at that or you're not good at that, I'll bet you loved playing with paints or crayons or colors. And I know I've worked with a lot of people who love to paint and play, and I know others who are inhibited by it because at some point they experienced criticism or they weren't good enough or they were compared to another. Our natural state is to play and to create. And if we study children that are free to be explorative and creative, we can find that in ourselves and invite that in. And that's a very important part of healing, is to have that freedom to make our mark in life, to make our mark on a page, to pick a color. I've experienced a somatic way of working with painting because I'm a very feeling and empathic person. And I realize it's really important to be able to express yourself, even our negative feelings, to find a safe and sacred place to let them out so we can truly flow. And sacred destruction is, I didn't know I was going to talk about that in this particular slide, but it's something we've become frightened about because we think we're going to hurt ourselves or hurt another. And truly, if you create a sacred container to let out frustration, anger, hurt, pain, you can transmute it into beauty, joy, and love. And that's a natural flow that we take out our pain on others in our society today. And if we could create a sacred space to do a releasing ceremony with our creativity, with art, or with ritual, it would transform and transmute everything. So if you look at art to bring in joy, but you're not feeling joy, perhaps you need to tend to what it is you need to let go of, and to take that canvas and let go of the color of red and black and whatever the energy is onto the canvas in a safe and sacred container, that you're letting go of anything that's not love. And then you come into my experience, and I've had this happen. I've had some major mystical healing experiences where I let go of frustration onto the canvas, and then I became completely centered in my heart space because I let go of all that stuck energy. And then nothing but high frequency energy came in that created the alchemy, or the third thing. So trust when you want to let your creativity flow. And if you feel stuck, that's a great place to start, is to let those feelings out, and then you can come into form. All right, because this creates a healing force. This painting of Mama Gaia, I feel like, embodies that energy of healing and compassion and love that can come through. So all forms of art, not only painting, but storytelling, sculpture, singing, dancing, are all healing forms that can return us to harmony. And when we're in harmony, our bodies like to work well, our lives begin to work well. So I've got lots of information on how it is technically. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get into that today. We can talk about neuropsychology and all that. I'm like, yeah, let's get into the art and see what inspires us. And here's one of the slides that gets into the science of it all. I'm like, well, let's look at the art. This is some of the earlier art that came through in 2007, the inspiration that came through intuitive painting. And if you look at the symbolism, what does that feel like and mean to you? The colors are interesting. This imagery is about going within and opening up to the mass creativity that's in the cosmos, in our inner selves, and allowing that to come through to bring inspiration to us. The actual name of this painting is Heaven on Earth Blessing Angel. And I've adapted her for some of the mythical goddess Tarot. She's actually in one of those, one of the slides of that deck, as well as I believe she's the abundance angel in my new deck, Master's Light Wisdom Oracle. But the color, all this art and painting is talking to you at a deep level right now, whether you're aware of it or not. You may experience an integration and an inspiration over the next days and weeks and months to come, because what you're experiencing right now is that it's in your field. It's not only in your brain and your eyes and your 5 physical senses, it's moving into your etheric field. It's activating. And so notice as I go through this presentation, what art calls to you? What are you attracted to? It's important to have color, art, and beauty around us to help us return to that. You know, one of the metaphysical teachings that I go to all the time as something to remind me and help me practice being in harmony is whatever you focus on expands. So if you focus on beauty, I'll guarantee you it will be beauty that you bring into your life. If you focus on beauty and harmony, you'll experience healing. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll experience disconnectedness and what's wrong. It sounds so simple, but it's not easy. That's why creating art, feng shui, experiencing beauty, gardening, being out in nature will return you to patterns of harmony that begin to help your physical self, your mental self, your emotional self come back to a place of greater resonance that is harmonious, and it breeds more harmony in your life. So our world that is so separate right now needs more beauty. It's had a lot of ugly. And if we're trying to fix ugly, the best solution is to shift our focus and look for the harmonies and the gratitudes where we can find them. So if you need some healing, put some beautiful art around you, flowers, earthy stuff. So prayer, healing, and art, you know, there's many of you may know, or maybe this is the first time you've heard of it, Heart Math. They are an organization or a group of people who have brought science and art together, and the science of the heart together. And they did a study many years ago how art heals. And they got into the neurophysiology of it and could prove the frequencies of when people would walk through an art show that was filled with beauty, basically their energies changed, their attitude changed, their mental state, their emotional state changes. If they walk through an area, say an artist or just the world that's in disarray, that is uncomfortable, that is dissonant, that creates more dissonance in your field. And so if you want to go get into the science of it, heart math people and art that heals are 2 things that you can Google and look up and do the research on, because it gets pretty interesting that we're now proving this, and this is part of what sacred mystics, tribal peoples have known for eons, is that art communicates to us at deep soul levels and bring us back home to what is important to focus on. So if you have a prayer spot or an altar, fill it with art that speaks to you, that helps you focus into what you desire to experience and manifest in your life. So curiosity, imagination, and dreaming are part of the inner artist and the external artist that we are. You know, the teachings metaphysically and shamanically that I've learned over the years and worked with are that we're creating our reality, or shamans will tell you that you're dreaming this reality, and that art is like a dream. Your curiosity and imagination stir the quantum field to create your life, to create, whether it be to create a painting, to create a job, to create a relationship, to create good health. Is that what you are curious about? And you focus through your curiosity, awakening that inner child, you activate the quantum field or the cosmos or your higher guidance system to bring into form and energy everything that you really desire. If we are curious through fear, guess what? Our media, our society, our politics have been focused through fear and have people worrying, which is a form of curiosity. Oh my God, how bad is it going to be tomorrow? Oh my God, what if the stock market falls? Oh my God, what if this happens? Well, that's a form of focusing us through negativity and being very curious about how bad it can get. So we need to dump that out and work on what is it like to wonder how amazing it can be. What is it like to be creative and joyful again? What is it like if everything shifted upwards and that we're in a breakthrough moment? What is it like if I wanted to create a painting or connect to something outside of myself that inspires that within myself? I'll guarantee you that the quantum field, the cosmos will answer you, and you will attract what helps inspire and awaken you. It's amazing. I'll have to tell you, through my life, I'm going to just be very honest. I've had, for the last 30 years, I've had some struggles with health through a variety of weird things, from fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue I got diagnosed with 30 years ago, to healing and just it really not seeming like it was in the foreground, to a car accident that triggered me 4.5 years ago, that threw me back into chronic pain and some other things. And I find that I'm being reminded how to move out of those states through my creativity, how to use my art and artistry to go to deeper healing than what I even did 30 years ago, because it's been in my face. And also how to cultivate compassion and play through art. And that it's so much more magical and mystical than my conscious mind wants to still believe, no matter what I've experienced. So I hope that this inspires you, that it can focus your artistry, whether you think you're an artist or not, that you can bring that through your curiosity and playfulness, and to heal things that maybe you didn't even think you could. I mean, I'm just still working on it. So, I think I get wise and I get humbled again. So, it's a journey. We're on a grand adventure into consciousness here. All right, the conversation. This is just more of that. This is a painting. I've got a lot to share, so I'm going to start breezing through some of these things and not going through every slide so deeply. We have an incredible communication system through imagery, form, and color pattern. It's a landscape of our soul. Visionary art reminds us that there's so much more than what we thought, so much more than what the ordinary world wants to tell us. Whether you believe it or not, you're an amazing creator in your life. And whatever your landscape of your life is come because you've created it, consciously or unconsciously. So what if together tonight, and through every viewing of this video, of everyone who's attracted here, we get inspired to touch our souls and know that we're getting the guidance and the inspiration to let our creativity guide us into a sacred life, a sacred ceremony of life. This particular piece of art is one that came through a trance state. And I spoke to it earlier, so I won't go deeply into it, but I had gone through I guess it's a pattern that I've had to clear this lifetime. It's been a lifetime effort of knowing I've had many opportunities of disappointment and betrayal in relationships where I've co-created stuff and not quite gotten it all right, and had disappointments along the way. And I'd opened that second store, my business partner, 3 months in, and many dollars into the experience, said, I don't want to do this. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And she had the upper hand. She had the most money in it. And so I'm like, let me run it. And it's like, nope, can't do it. We're out of here. And I'm like, oh my God, you don't have any idea how much, we just can't get our money back out of this. And so anyway, went through a lot of frustration. And actually, it wasn't anger. It wasn't frustration. There was a deep rage in me. And I think I'm a good person and a kind person, and all that, but I had some energy I needed to clear. So I went to my canvas, I put red paint on, I put black paint on, and I know you can see this. I don't know if you can see me in the energy besides my slideshow, but I was kind of like a crazy person letting this go. I took red paint, black paint, and all the energy in my body that was that frustration. And I looked like a maniac putting this on the canvas very somatically and very abstractly. And the cool thing that happened, that's why somatic work and getting in touch with our bodies is connected to our consciousness is so important, is that release of energy put me into a state of samadhi, or a trance state of higher consciousness. And when I got there, I released all that angst, all that frustration and anger and fear and betrayal, every word you'd want to put that's ugly in an experience and human. And I was very exalted state. And this image came through whose name is Dakini Kundalini Mama. And I remember hearing Dakini, and I'm like asking my guides, what's that mean? And I'm just in a very loving, harmonious state by the time this happens. And my guides are like, shut up and paint. I'm like, okay. And so as it came through, is this conscious Dakini, I looked up later, it's a Sanskrit word, and it means one who is exalted. Actually, the Sanskrit means one who flies, and a being who flies above this world. And I saw a psychological explanation of it, and it was more like one who's let go of their angst in life to come into a centered place of being. And that just really nailed it for me, that it was a transformative healing experience, but I didn't need to hold on to any of that fire burned through the human limited emotional experience into a higher state of being. So I encourage you to create and play. So I'm going to show you some more imagery. This is one of the shamanic pieces, came after I spent 2 weeks in the jungle with a shamanic artist friend of mine, working with plant medicines and another shaman there. And I find that storytelling and imagery comes, you'll see this woman here holding a cup that's symbolic of a cup of ayahuasca, a cup of sacred plant medicine tea that's filled with consciousness. And out of it is coming this jaguar, which is a repeated symbol for me. The jaguar is a symbol of presence and so many things. It's a healing symbol for me, but it's also one that's like, be present, because everything you want is coming to you. It's not about chasing your prey. It's about being at the right place and allowing it to come to you. Jaguars go sit in the jungle at a watering hole because they know prey comes there. So they sit effortlessly and they allow that energy to come to them. The other imagery coming out of the cup is the Benestropus capi vine, which is one of the plant medicines that creates the healing tea of ayahuasca, the sacred medicine. In the background, you see on the left a pink dolphin, and there's literally pink dolphins in the jungle. And they're also a medicine for me of the heart. They bring a lot of happiness to me. They make me smile as one of my healings. And there is a mermaid, or Sharanita, there, who's also a healing medicine of the jungle. So these are all part of my healing that happened when I was in the jungle painting. I just didn't go paint. I went and had an experience there that brought energy. One of the things I want to say, it's not only symbolic and storytelling, it reveals and restores. And there's portals or doorways that are open. So every painting that I've showed you so far, and what I know about sacred art, whether I've created it or someone channeled it in through many eons ago, is that it's a doorway to another world. It's a doorway to inner dimensions. It may be, if you go to petroglyphs and some of the earlier rock paintings, those are portals to the aliens who came here, who helped bring us all to this planet. It's a portal to multiverse. So whatever you're attracted to, know that you may be traveling tonight in your dreams, because that's another language of the soul. This is another painting I did when I was in the jungle. That is, again, this is Jaguar Woman. And it's about transforming and shape-shifting from ordinary reality and merging with these medicines of Jaguar. You've also got other medicines in here of the plants and hummingbird and owl again, and the patterns of the songs and the mystery of the jungles there to bring healing. So sacred art is transcendent art, and it helps to bring our medicine to us, or our gifts, to help bring them out and awaken them. I promised to talk about goddesses and celestial beings and some of the other art. This is some of my journey into the goddess, the divine feminine, that occurred back in, it actually took many years. It's probably a lifetime, many lifetimes of work that came into this. My dear friend, Sage Holloway, who's the author of the Mythical Goddess Tarot, she saw me and met me in 1991 when I opened my very first metaphysical store, very small store. And we became friends. And when she saw some of my early art, like nothing like what I'm doing now, she said, she's such a mystic. She said, you know, I've been reading the tarot since I was 12 years old. And when I was 17, I got the vision for a divine feminine tarot deck. I think you're the artist. And at the time I go, oh, cool, that's great. And we went on about our lives. So many, many years, she would say, Catherine, we need to do this deck. And I'm like, sure. And then we both would get busy and nothing would happen. Well, I wasn't fully activated yet. There's a time and a season for all things. And it took me until 2006. And when I'd started to channel in goddesses when I started painting Mary and some of those other things several years earlier. And I went to Rome to see it through the eyes of the goddess pre-Christianity with two mystic artists, Meinrad Craighead, who I mentioned earlier, and Lydia Rule, who's an amazing mystic artist that I had good fortune becoming good friends with, and she was a mentor of mine. And I went on this trip, and one of the things, I got to see ancient ruins, goddess ruins, pre-Christianity. I got to go to churches that were built on top of goddess sites. I got to see sacred art from pre-Christian times. I got to go to the Vatican, who has more pagan art than anyone in the world, which is fascinating. And I could read the symbols in the art because I know I've had many lifetimes of understanding symbolism and working with story and symbol to activate consciousness. And I could see it in the art, the artists of the Renaissance, so many amazing artists have been mystics who've left us a great, if you can ever go to the Vatican or to the Sistine Chapel, I encourage it, because Michelangelo was an amazing mystical artist who told many stories and put much symbolism out there for us to know who we are and to remember our essence. So I got to the end of that trip, and one of the things that Lydia said is that we heard history. It's time to hear and understand her story, her story. And with that, she said, it's time to tell her story. Just do it. So I came home and I got the activation and the guidance I needed 15 years, I believe, after Sage asked me to do the Mythical Goddess Tarot. And I called her when I got home and I said, Sage, I finally got the message. Let's do this. And in 18 months, I painted 78 paintings and created the Mythical Goddess Tarot and published it with Sage's writings and guidance. So you're going to get a little story here of some of the importance of restoring the divine feminine. The age of Aquarius is the time where we come home to healing and bringing this back. That's why the imagery and story of the divine feminine is as important as anything for all of us, male and female. This is a part of us that got disconnected when the patriarchy came in. And so this particular tarot deck brings in the symbolism of the tarot that was born in the Middle Ages, or at least became popular then, and the Dark Ages, and bringing it to the light of now in the New Age, the Aquarian Age, where we can come back to our intuition, where we can come back to reading symbols and imagery and understanding intuitively what they are telling us. That's what this art is about. Sacred art is connecting to our intuition and knowing more of who we are, and that we have that inside of us and not just externally. So there are 78 cards born of a tarot deck. And so these, I'm going to show you 22 of the goddesses that are multicultural, that came to tell the stories connected to the tarot and to bring illumination to us, help us understand our own internal symbol system. I can't remember, do we go to 8:30? Or I gotta hurry on through here, it's at 8 o'clock. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going through this. I'm gonna breeze through here and tell you a couple of key stories that are in the major arcana. If for any reason you see some you want to know about more, at the end of this, you can always go to my website, or you can get my email and get in touch with me. I'm happy to tell you more about their stories. Uzume is a Shinto goddess who took over the Fool card. She's a goddess of laughter and mirth who reminds us to lighten up. We got Morgan Le Fay, who's here, and I see this is not well centered in this frame here, but she is the sorceress. She comes from Arthurian legend. She is the queen of the fairies, and she's here to she takes the place of the magician card in a traditional tarot deck. She's reminding us that we are the magicians in our lives. We are amazing magical beings, and that she's here to encourage us to connect to the magic. Then we have Isis, the high priestess, who is the sacred one, benevolent goddess of Egypt, who's here to remind us, we came from the stars, folks. She is definitely not just an earth being. She has wings, and she's connected to the sun and to the moon. And she's benevolent. She brings the waters of fertility, but she also helps. She's an alchemist and a priestess who helps us with the sacred journey through death and reawakening. Then we have Kuan Yin, the mother goddess of compassion and mercy, as the empress in our deck. And she's all about heart. She's all about the waters of life that bring us back to truly the healing journey of compassion and awakening. Then we have Lilith, who's a story to tell. I grew up Baptist Christian in Oklahoma, and I had never heard of her until I started working more deeply with the goddess. She goes back to ancient Samaria, and she's a pretty bold image. She was one of the last goddesses I painted because I think she scared me, is that she's about power and empowerment. If you go back to ancient Sumerian text, she is Adam's first wife. In traditional Bible, we are told about Adam and Eve, not about Lilith. And Lilith is a very important archetype for us to embrace in ourselves and in our history, is that she was born equally out of the same substance as Adam. She was not born of his rib. She was not born secondarily to him. And so she wanted equality. And so when Adam didn't want to play fairly anymore and wanted to dominate, she called God and said, "Hey, God, this isn't right. I want equality and fairness," which is our world is trying to understand and find that. We've become very disconnected from that. It's part of the endings that we're in. It's time to come back to harmony, and she's here to help us. You probably hear my dog breathing heavily. Sorry about that. There she goes. All right. So she's about returning to our bodies as sacred, returning to the divine feminine as sacred within us and around us, whether you're male or female. So when she called God and said, "I want out of here, he's not playing fairly," she got talons and wings given to her, and she flew away to lay with any man she wanted to be free to be herself. And that's when the divine feminine was truly demonized. And so it's time to call her back into our lives, to be honest and to be embracing of ourselves and our sensuality, our earthiness, and our spirituality all at the same time. Sophia is the mother of God. She is another important being in our deck. She is here birthing the Christ light. She's pregnant with the Christ light. She's pregnant with that golden octave of light. So the symbolism in her is to activate us into our own divinity, to help us return home to that sacredness and bring it into form here. Then we have Shakti, which is a Hindu goddess who is all about, she's Kundalini, she's life force, she's benevolent, she takes the place of the lover's card in the traditional tarot. To know that your most beloved relationship is with your inner self. That the activation of your connection with your inner self and your consciousness of your human self is about coming into that oneness, your awakening, your enlightenment. So she's here to help you with that. Then we have Athena, the chariot card that helps you get to where you want to be. Athena is the Greek goddess of war and wisdom. And as the chariot card, she's here to move you forward with whatever you truly desire. She carries the wisdom and the energy of the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine, to help you move forward. Then we have Crow Woman, Yamaya, Lakshmi, and White Buffalo Calf Woman from the traditions. Crow Woman is from Native American traditions. Yamaya is a Caribbean goddess of the seas. Lakshmi is another Hindu goddess bringing heaven to earth. And we have White Buffalo Calf Woman, who's here as sacred fire, and she is actually about living life in sacred ceremony, about bringing that purification through, that we transcend lust into purity and living life in unity and harmony. So there's 22 of them. I got a lot to get through here, so I hope y'all are on board with this. We brought in Mother Mary as sacrifice, and Sage envisioned her to take the place of the hanged man. Know that she's here to teach us that when we have time, when it's time for us to let go of our attachments to the finite reality, to a human, a situation, an experience, she's here to help us to let go and move to the sacredness of all life. That sacrifice, that word, the essence of it is to make sacred. And so she's here with the sacred heart, the heart on fire. Her eyes are closed, looking inward. She has the dove of peace coming in as a symbol to represent that is available to all of us as we connect to our divinity in every part of our experience. And that she's holding that space for us, calling us in to be anointed into the sacredness of life. Kali, the great Hindu goddess of death, you know, she's kind of a scary looking goddess to us Westerners. She's black and blue, and she's got skulls, and she's like got a head and blood. It's like, what the heck? I remember I was painting her, and this guy in the studio next to me had come see what I was painting every day. He walked into my studio one day. He said, "What are you working on?" And he came around the canvas and saw her, and he's like, "Oh!" And he ran out of the room, and he wouldn't come back. And I'm like, "Hey, it's okay." He's like, no, I'm not coming in there. I said, "No, she's a benevolent goddess." He says, "No way, I'm not coming in there." And it was really hard to convince him that she had blessings. So through death, we let go of the finiteness and we transform, whether it be our physical body or whether it be of a situation or experience. She's coming to help us. And I had an experience when I was painting her, speaking of transcendent experiences. Someone told me a story about her importance in Hinduism, her importance in clearing the ego. She's about death of the ego. And she's a benevolent goddess who protects her devotees. And so connecting with her is quite empowering because she's about, you know, truly it's our lower egoic states that get us in trouble, that create suffering. And so when we let go of that ego, lower ego or lower personality state, we can move to higher states of consciousness where we can get into love and oneness and connection. So Kali's job is to help her people in supporting them, protecting them from that lower egoic state. And so there was a devotee, this man who had been praying to her his whole life since he was a little boy. And so he'd been doing this, he's in his 30s. And so one day in meditation, he sees this image of this beautiful woman in all white. And he's like, he felt it was Kali, but he was really confused. It didn't look like her. So he's like, Kali, is that you? I don't understand why you look like this. And so she said, you have been so devoted. I wanted you to see the true essence of who I am, which is purity and love. To know that these fierce imagery and forces are actually to protect us from the darkness of a lack of consciousness, a lack of love, and that she was showing him the true state of that white light purity that is available and within all of us. So you can meditate on this or any other image to get to the essence and pierce the limited visions that we have in our human lower conscious mind. So Bridget is another goddess, a Celtic goddess, who's about fire, who's about alchemy, who's about creativity. And in alchemy, if you understand that word, it's where you take lead and turn it into gold through something magical. And that magical experience is the third thing. It's your essence, it's your spirituality, it's your prayer, it's your ritual that takes the lead of life and turns it into the gold of the soul's journey. Mary Magdalene is here to initiate us. I see Mary Magdalene as the feminine Christ. She's the bride of Christ. She anointed Jesus with the energy, with the sacred oil from the alabaster jar. She bathed his feet and anointed him because she was a priestess who was already initiated into the Christ light. So I'm telling you stories to go with this art because sacred art carries the depth of energy that is here for you at a particular time to help take you to your next step in your own soul's journey. So Mary Magdalene's here to initiate you tonight or today, whenever you watch this, connect to it, to your next expanded self, your 2.0 or 200,000 2.0. So Pele is the next one on this, where she is here. She's the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes, who in the original tarot is the Tower card. And she is here to transform and transmute any place where we've been out of harmony or disrespect. In Hawaii, they'll tell you that she will erupt when humans have disrespected the land. And so she'll bring her lava flows to purify through fire. But she doesn't leave it there. If you look at the lava flows, you'll see that they turn into islands and new land. So she brings new life through sacred destruction. And that's a place to embrace within our journeys, that there's times to fiercely release what is no longer in harmony and to come home to the fire and the passion within us to give birth to new life. And that's who I see Pele as. The Pleiadian star goddess is next for all us star beings. She's the Aquarian energy of a new age, and she's the destiny card here. She's this beautiful goddess from the stars, pouring blessings down upon this human who's open to receive and to let the light in, to be activated to their true soul star self. So she's here working with us in this time to come into a new age within her own personal revelations and revolutions to the revolution of humanity to come back to harmony. And we have the Mayan goddess Sheila, who's here to show us, to help us remember so much. It's a profound story about Sheila. I know I probably am going on and on, so I'm gonna, she brought me a blessing when she came in. She's this goddess who is forgotten in many ways. She's a moon goddess, and her name means rainbow jaguar goddess. She's a goddess of fertility. She protects women and childbirth and brings new life. And when I was painting her, I'd broken up from a relationship and my chakras kept blowing out. I just really had a hard time letting go of that relationship and coming home to myself. And when I'm sitting with her and her face is finally coming to canvas, I began to weep because I could feel her love coming through the process of my painting and channeling her in. And she's told me she was so grateful, or she's expressing her gratitude for me energetically. And my heart was just flooded with her joy and love. And I was weeping with joy that she was healing. She was bringing me healing. And she was grateful because her story was coming back to life to bring blessings to others. And so she gifted me 2 jaguars. You know, energetically, this is actually a bigger painting than what you can see of this image here. It's a square painting. And so these 2 Mayan temples energetically have jaguars sitting on them. They're not physically painted in, but they're energetically in the piece. They're in the portal. So that's accessible to everyone who works with this energy. And she gifted me the jaguars to work with me, to protect me and help me to bring my energy back. So I could feel a male walking in front of me and a female beside me. And when I go to bed at night, I could feel them get on the bed with me. I could feel them. They're still with me. They're part of my main totems. And so if you need healing tonight, may the jaguar and Sheila bless you, or any of these other beings that need to come into your reality. The sun card is the Shinto goddess Amaterasu. She is the goddess of light and beauty. And she's here to remind us that we are the light, that the light is within us. And there's many more stories about her, but I know I could keep you all night and day and today.
Catherine,
Yes.
I just want to let you know that we lost Sheila. She lost her internet. And so she just texted me and said, can I, keep the meeting on track? So
We need to close it up, or how are we doing?
we normally go an hour, but why not go an hour and a half, right?
If you're up for it, I will.
I know you have so much material to cover and it's so exciting. But I just wanted to let you know that Sheila apologizes and we'll just carry on. Okay.
And what I'll also do is I'm going to show some more images and then I'll open it up for some questions if you would like.
I would like that. I'm sure a lot of people do. I have a few.
Okay. These are a couple more of the goddesses that came through, but let me just breeze through some other images. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes because I do have a lot of content, and I just have to have a webinar someday.
We'll just have to have you back, Catherine, right? We'll
Yeah.
just have to have you back.
I would love that.
You have all those paintings to show us still. We want to see, but yeah, time's a
I know, time's a thing. So I just wanted to honor that we've been getting art communication for eons. I want to honor all those petroglyphs and all the images that have come from beings from off the planet into the consciousness of humans to make the mark of our connection beyond this reality here. And that it's been available to us for a long time. Angels and watchers and celestial ones. I started to channel those in a number of years ago, beyond anything I know. And this is one of the pieces that came in that is actually an Aquarian Age painting. It's a painting of new beginnings. Angel Estrella de la Luz Nuevo La Vida, what a long name means. Angel of light, new light, and new ways of being to help us create our new reality. So this is a portal to work with to help us birth this reality in ourselves and in our humanity. These are some of the other beings that have come in over the years, bringing messages and illumination, activations, reminding us that we're not alone. This is an interesting painting. It was commissioned by a friend of mine in Texas that was about restoring from the ancient ones when they came here and began experimenting with humanity. At one point, our DNA was turned off to just 2 strands. And Hadalius is a being who's come back to help us reclaim and activate our 12-stranded DNA and wake us up. These are some of the animal spirits and guides that have come in over the years. for different people and the one that I have behind. And that's, I guess, it for now. A
Wow.
quick
Wow.
take the share off.
Can you take share off?
I think I can do that. How do I stop? Here we go.
There you go.
All right. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Oh, listening. That was fabulous. All the colors, and it was totally experience, I understood what you meant when you said it was like a portal, it activates in itself. And I saw that. I'm sure other people did too. So how would you recommend somebody to, that's not an artist, that, wants to express their feeling? How would you suggest art?
Well, there's a lot of different ways, actually. And if you want to, go buy a little pad of paper, or, just get some of your paper you run through your printer and get some colors out, whether it be paints or whether it be crayons, markers, and begin to doodle. Sit down with an intention. A great way is to sit down and go into prayer, go into meditation for even a short while, and call your creative guides. Call on Picasso, call on the higher spirits of these divine channel artisans and say, who would like to show up for me today and give me a message? And then, get out of your head. That's why meditating or focusing on something that gets you out of your intellect. So take your non-dominant hand so you can get out of what you're used to. And notice if you want to do a spiral or do a particular pattern, and notice what comes through. Your intention will help bring you the energy that you want. If you need to release, I like to be very somatic with it. So I like getting something big. It could be a big piece of butcher paper if you don't want to invest a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And, if you got to get it out, it's like, what's your body want to do if you want to let go? But set the intention that you've got a safe place, put a candle on, set some sage or incense out, create a space where nobody bothers you. It's like, I'm going to let go. I'm going to regurgitate life with the intention to bring healing, with the intention to transmute and to transform, so that when you're letting go, you're just not continuing to vomit.
Right.
That it's about transforming. And then once that's released, you may set another intention, either right afterwards or for another sitting, where you say, what's the healing? And a couple of things you can create right on top of what you just did. That's why paint can be really cool, because it will paint on top of, and that it's like a healing salve you're putting on to let a new energy come in to transmute, or continue your ceremony of letting go and go to a fire and throw your art in the fire that is part of what you vomited out, that you want to transform. That is a ceremonial piece. And then come to create a piece and ask, what's my healing? What are the colors? Are there symbols or forms? And notice in your times in between sitting in ceremony that you're actually running that intention beyond that creative time, so that you're noticing, where's the magic in my everyday life that wants to inspire what I come to play with. You may want to do it in dance. You may want to do it in song. You may want to do it. How many ways can you create? You might want to cook it in.
Yeah.
You might want to tell a story.
You're encouraging people, get out of your left brain, get into the creative side, bring them together, be curious, and just create something from your soul essence, from your wow, that's beautiful. Does anybody have questions in the audience, or no? Is there a hand up anywhere? No. Wow.
So
I would love for you to tell us about that blue painting behind you, because the Jaguar, I just want to know everything about it.
So I have a friend, she's become a friend, who was a client for a couple of years, and then she took a class with me last year. She actually lives in Michigan, and she came to my Artist Shaman Healer Sage course that I teach, a 6-month course every year, and she'd fly in every month and come to class. And she's quite intuitive herself. And so I ran a special back in November and December on soul portraits and guide paintings. And so she got one, and we just now did it. I've got to ship some other art to her that she's bought. But it's kind of interesting how things work, is that morning I had been tuning into her before our Zoom session. She showed up on Zoom and I did that. This is an hour painting, y'all. This is what happens in an hour and you can do bigger and longer sessions, but this is like a great session to connect with your guides or to do a soul portrait, any of that. So anyway, this Jaguar energy came in before we got on Zoom. And I was feeling it, and I know that Jaguar is one of my guides, and I've tapped in that it was one of her guides already, but I know she's got a lot that she works with. And so as we're coming in, I asked her intention, and I'm like, I have to tell you, Jaguar is one of your beings, isn't it? I said, I'm connecting to a cosmic Jaguar. This is not just an earth Jaguar. This is a cosmic Jaguar who's a shapeshifter. And so its message came in. She says, I just connected to it this morning. I'm like, oh yeah, thanks for validating this with me, because as much as I'm here to validate others, I get the feedback loop, right, to know if I'm nailing someone or not. And so it's got the symbol. I don't know how well you can see it in here. Maybe you can see it. And there's like a cosmic spiral or a cosmos up here in its third eye area. It's connecting to downloading and bringing in other dimensions to connect her to her multiversal self, to help her bring that through. She is really a very good channel herself, and she's on her own initiatory path of making herself available for other people besides casually. This is about bringing that medicine in and being supported with that. It's got a symbol of the divine feminine and the throat chakra. There's lines coming out of the mouth, which has to do with communication, channeling, reflecting that back to her, supporting her in being the one who brings that forth. It's got light language all around the outside here. When I channel in these symbols, they're not like an intellectual ABCD. They're energetic forms that I allow to come through. That's where doodling is really good, because there's more in it than what you think. That it's a message that you may not know in your conscious mind, but it's bringing energy in. So this, I always feel it amp up when I sense the imagery of the star language coming through. And I know it's activating. I mean, the frequency I can feel is like, whoop, it just like pops it up. Yep. And it begins to activate in the field and help someone move into their next level, is my experience of it so far. And it's also can help do soul retrieval and soul remembering.
Okay.
Down here, brought in this energy of her heart on fire to activate that, to connect the solar energy with this deep cosmic energy. And it has a cup of light.
Cup of light?
It came in the end where it's like, oh, wait, this Jaguar wants to give you something. And it's a cup, and she says, what's in it? I said, well, what I can tell right now is light. And it's energy that will come into form to help you continue to awaken. They'll help you continue to be on your soul path. And so she's just
thank you very much for sharing. So do you want to tell people how they can get a hold of you and maybe what you're offering, like in the classes? I thought the classes looked really interesting.
So if you can spell my name, you can see my name here on my Zoom link, catherineskaggs.com, myname.com, no spaces, is my website. And it's a portal to a lot of artwork, to product, and to services. So it's got my story on there. It's got the Mythical Goddess Tarot on there, which is also available on many places, Amazon. It's also got something you may be interested in if you're wanting to activate your creativity, ceremony, ritual. Artist, Shaman, Healer, Saved is an award-winning book that I published in 2021. It's got 12 awards last year, which I feel so honored for that. It's a cool book. I don't have a, it's funny, I didn't have a copy up here to show you visually right now, but it's a beautiful book filled with art, ceremony, ritual, universal law and truth, shamanic traditions and teachings that you can practice. And it's part of what I teach in a 6-month course here in person. And I'm working on a distance course. I don't have that up and ready yet, but I am working on that. And it's also filled with 70 pieces of art. It's a beautiful visual journey. And it's meant to be like a spiritual Bible or guidebook that you can open up and go to any part of it that you want to. But it embodies a lot of the experiences and teachings that I've had for 30 some odd years that I'm paying forward, hopefully to inspire and support people bringing that into your lives. It's also got my new deck on there, Master's Light Wisdom Oracle. I do shamanic healing, soul portraits, all that kind of stuff at catherineskaggs.com. And go on to the contact form or email me at catherine@catherineskaggs.com, and I'm happy to support you in one way, shape, or form. So anyway, I know, too much stuff.
You're all about empowering people. I just love it. And I have to say again, I really apologize on behalf of Sheila that we lost her in the internet world. But I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that's here today. Susie got her hand up, so we have to ask, what does Susie need to know?
Well, it's not a question, Catherine. I've seen your work before, and it just excites the crap out of me. But when I see the Lilith, something I don't know what it means, but it just jumps out at me. I took a picture of it tonight. It is just a magnificent. And what does that mean? What could that mean for me?
Well, it's healing of your feminine self, your body, your relationship to your body, to your power. She's all about being in power, equality, honoring your feminine, honoring to be big in the world, to not apologize for your bigness, for your talent, for your joy, your beauty. And
I got chills all over.
Yeah. And to reclaim all of that through all time, space, and dimensions. We are healing a lot of suppression of the feminine. So
yes, we are.
She spoke to you. She's about sensuality too. One thing I don't think I talked about, she is a priestess in the temple of Inanna in ancient Samaria. And so, the temple priestesses were sacred sexuality. When the men would come home from war, they would go to the temple for the women to anoint them, to bathe them, to heal them, to lay with them. And it was sacred. So when the patriarchy came in, they said that's prostitution and we're whores. And so we're healing a lot where we've had to disconnect from our sensuality.
Yep.
And so I'd say it involves all of that.
Yeah, I did my dissertation on Tantra, and I'm a Tantra master, and that's right up my alley. So
that's why she's there for you. She's one of your helpers.
Yes, she is. Oh my God, it's brilliant for me. Thank you so much, Catherine. I just love your stuff. Thank you so much for coming and seeing us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Catherine. Okay, well, I guess I'll close the meeting. I really appreciate everybody. I'm trying to do Sheila's job. I'm not used to it. So anyways, I don't know how to change the pins. Catherine, what an honor to meet you. And thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and your encouragement for everybody and the feminine. And on behalf of Sheila Sepe and Conscious Awakening Network, we'll say good night. And God bless everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Big hug, everybody. Mwah. Bye, Stone.